Nice to meet you.
Too.
I'm here because I'm concerned about gerrymandering. I'm wondering if you're for gerrymandering?
I'm against gerrymandering.
That is really good to hear. So does that mean we can count on your support for the legislation that's...
For Elena Parent's Senate Resolution 6 and 7?
Yes.
No, and here's why. Here's why. Since the Voting Rights Act in 1965, the Democrats controlled redistricting and reapportionment. Every year they controlled it, the DOJ kicked back our maps, saying they were unconstitutional, and we ended up with a new law created because of that. In 2011, the first time since Reconstruction that the Republicans controlled redistricting, Obama's Department of Justice approved the maps on the very first try, and no new law was created.
So I'm sorry, you're gonna have to forgive me, but this is sort of sounding like playground politics to me, not
Playground politics.
Not like trying to really fix a broken system.
Well, everyone agreed in 2011 that the system was not broken, that the process was not broken.
Well, it's now 2017. It's 6 years later, and I think the last election really demonstrates that we have a problem, and that
How so?
we as voters. How so?
Yeah. How so?
Well, I think it's very clear that people don't have faith in the voting system here in Georgia, or in general in the country. I'm hoping that Georgia could be the progressive state.
Explain that.
Explain that?
Yeah, explain it.
Well, if
you just made a blanket statement, explain it.
Well, if we in Georgia, in terms of representing the whole state, over 40% of the people would have elected Hillary Clinton as president, 45%.
Okay.
And we can't even get 25% in the state house. It's like I mean, frankly, I don't feel represented by...
Well, what you're describing, though, is the Electoral College. That has nothing to do with congressional maps.
I don't think so. I think that the congressional maps
that's exactly what you just described. When you talk about the presidential election, you're talking about the Electoral College. That has nothing to do with with congressional reapportionment.
I'm sorry, but I beg to differ. I'll let...
The way that districts have been drawn was wrong when Democrats did it, and it was wrong in 2010.
But President Obama's DOJ in 2011 disagreed with that statement.
And I did not vote for President Obama, and we need to have geographically compact districts that...
Well, and I'll be honest, to me right now, one of the biggest issues is I think the Voting Rights Act is really kind of put us all in the box that y'all are talking about. Because with the Voting Rights Act right now, when you're still forcing majority-minority districts, it basically forces these different pockets that we're getting of hardcore Republicans and hardcore Democrats. And here's the issue with going to a bipartisan or a
nonpartisan,
non-official, whatever to do it, is because I don't remember what year it was, but there's a case that came about, what I was talking about earlier, when the Democrats did it. There was a case that came about, it was Shaw versus Georgia or something like that. It was Shaw's the name. But what they ruled there is that you cannot look at racial data. Therefore, you have to look at political data. Well, if you did a whatever y'all are called, what does she call it? Elena Parent.
The Citizens Redistricting Review Board.
Okay, so her review board, because it's not us doing it, they can't look at political data or racial data. So then how do you come up with a majority-minority district, which is mandated by the Voting Rights Act? You can't do it. And so also in her resolution it says if both sides don't agree, then we scrap it and we go back to the way we do it anyway. So essentially, if they can't look at the right data, then you're starting over at square one anyway.
Well, honestly,
And I agree. What
Geographic
she's trying to do,
boundaries.
and honestly, and in the process, I think this is my personal opinion. The districts have gotten so far Republican and so far Democrat. That's where the issue is. That's where the issue is. I don't think it's in the process, because in 2011, it was DOJ approved the maps on the very first time, and I don't think that's the issue. The issue is when you have to form a majority-minority district, which means you can only look at political data, which means you're putting all Democrats here, which means you have a very strong Democrat district. When you do that, now you have very strong Republican districts around the state, and that's the issue, in my humble opinion.
And well, I'd love to see county,
but what she's
county
trying
line
to do,
borders.
you can't do. It won't work.
Well, by mandating it by having this as a potential constitutional amendment that the voters get to vote on, it would become legal, at least at the state level.
But they still can't look at. They still look up that case at Shaw versus somebody. They can't. An independent group cannot look at political data or racial data to draw a district. Therefore, they're flying blind.
Can that be changed in the law? Is that part of it?
That was a Supreme Court ruling. So if we got a new Supreme Court when they all die, then maybe.
I have a question. I was just talking with Dr. Watson. He said that he doesn't feel like gerrymandering is a problem. Do you feel like gerrymandering is even a problem as it right now today?
All right. Well, define gerrymandering. What does it mean?
So the idea of districting, taking Democratic groups of Democrats and cutting lines down so that they're divided, so that not more than 1/3 of the district is Democrats. So that's what I understand gerrymandering.
Okay, well, this kind of goes back to my point. When you're forced to put Democrats into a district, which by the Voting Rights Act we are forced to do, whoever's drawing the maps,
right,
they're forced to do that.
Right.
Then you're gonna have that. You have to have
but you don't have to have lines down the middle of Democratic pockets to separate Democrats out into.
Well, you have lines down the middle of Republicans too. That's the way it works.
But that's gerrymandering. But if you keep things together, and if you have a nonpartisan oversight commission,
go look at the maps that came out of 2011 versus the maps that came out of 2004.
Well, regardless of the maps for any particular year, it's the process
They were all
or the
wrong.
system that
Yeah,
is not
I agree.
that's broken that needs
Well, I
to
don't
be
agree
fixed
with
so that
2011,
gerrymandering
it
doesn't exist. We have to figure out how. Do you believe that gerrymandering exists?
Yes, it definitely exists.
And what do you believe that this legislation would help to correct it, help to fix this broken part of the system?
Well, this legislation does not work. I've already explained that.
All right. Well,
Because
what
they
is your
can't.
idea for fixing gerrymandering?
I don't have one yet.
Do
Is
you
it not
feel like
important?
we need one?
I don't think that. I don't even know if it's possible to completely do away with it. I think you can minimize
What if we
it.
went by
I think
county
you can
borders?
minimize it.
And how do we need to
Well, you
figure out how
can't
to
do that
that?
because you have to have a plus or minus on population and voting population.
Okay, well, attempt to follow
with the Voting
natural-
Rights Act right now. I mean, I think honestly, right now, the Voting Rights Act to me is out of date.
Right. Well, let me ask you this: do you think a nonpartisan citizens commission
Okay,
would?
I gotta go, y'all.
Okay.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time.
Your time.
Thank you.